Hi, everyone. So excited to be here, especially with my good friends and colleagues. I've seen Beverly, Beverly as much as I do for all the valuable input and shared insights that she provides. Helena's here, another wonderful past guest who's coming back for a return engagement. We put our heads together and we decided to focus on priority time management. And I know everybody is focused on that in one way, shape, or another. Chat's wide open. We'd love to hear your input and your definition or insight into time management or priority management or both. And with that said, I'll turn it over to Beverly to get us going, and then we'll switch it right over to Helena.
Okay. Well, first, everyone who's listening, happy Tuesday. And if it's Tuesday, it's Women Empowerment. And we're talking about time management. As everybody knows, that's the big umbrella, really, for setting our priorities to make sure that we get through what we have to get through every single day. And so, um, all of us are affected by how we manage our time. All of us are affected by overwhelm, and all of us are affected by just life in general. And how do we keep a straight course when we get thrown all the time? So, as Don said, the chats are wide open. For those who don't know me, my name is Beverley Glazer, and I'm a coach and I'm a mentor to high performing women to get more fulfillment out of their life and their business by changing their inner game. And you can find me also on reinventimpossible.com. You can find me everywhere on LinkedIn, but you can also find me there. And we welcome your comments. We welcome your suggestions. We welcome your criticism. We welcome it all. And we will speak to all of that. So please, we love to hear what you have to say. Send it out there, and we're going to be talking about time management, setting priorities, priority management. And Helena, I'm so happy to see you, and you can speak volumes on that. And so let's talk and let's get this conversation going.
Great, Helena. Love to hear a quick update and catch up and your initial thoughts on priority management, time management.
Yeah, hi everybody, and hi Beverly and Don. Thank you so much for having me again. I wonder if you will have me again after this one because I'm going to be a little bit controversial, and I'm also very,
Good.
very eager to find to read the feedback of the people listening in here. There's no such thing as time management. There's only 24 hours in a day. There's 7 days in a week. There's 30 or 31 days in a month, and there's nothing we can do to change that. So we cannot really manage that. But what we can do is we can manage ourselves because Beverly, you said it. We don't have time. We feel overwhelmed. There's so many going on. So basically, this is about how are we looking at what we do with that time? How do we set our boundaries? Because sometimes we spend our time and we manage our time based on what other people are asking from us, and sometimes the ones that are yelling the loudest are getting their things done by us. It could be your clients, it could be your family members, it could be whoever. So for me, it is about self-management and priority management, and I'm very, very eager also to learn from the audience how they look at that.
Absolutely. And, everybody who is cost and especially time efficient is always looking at how they can be more efficient at that and how they can offer more value with the time and the priority of their time that they provide. With that, I want to recognize some audience here. Jason's here.
Hey, Jason.
Good morning, Don, Beverly, and Helena. And Jason will be on actually tomorrow with Carl Dakin, which will be a first pairing of that kind. So looking forward to it. Here's a joke by Carrie. Let me see what Carrie has to say. A little boy wanted to see about time management. He tossed a clock outside to see if time could fly. Well, that's a good one. Thank you for bringing some levity to the show, Corey. You always seem to have a humdinger of a joke to share with everybody. Beverly, I know not only is your time and prioritization of your activity important, but especially in relationship to your clients and the individuals you're working with who are looking to get a lot of value for the priority that you provide for them. How have you continued to build on that?
Okay, that's a great question, because whether it's someone like myself who's actually been trained in crisis intervention, which can be applied very easily into time, you really have to know how to be resilient. And you really have to know how to set boundaries, which is exactly what Helena was saying. Um, so for myself, I have, of course, a schedule, right? I have a written schedule. I use it electronically as well, but I like the old way. I like to see it. I like to know exactly what I'm supposed to do. And I say exactly like I'm supposed to do, not necessarily what I end up doing, but there are priorities, and those certain priorities have got to get done. And that is something that you have to balance on your personal life as well as on your business life. And as we were talking last week, Dawn, if people were on last week, we were talking to Dr. Miriam Zilbergate, I think her last name was, and what we were talking really about was mental wellness. And this time management or priority management, or give it any label you want, is really about keeping our sanity, because the world is out to get you. And that's how you have to kind of look at it, right? Something is going to throw you. And I can give you just an example today. Whereas last week, I was told there's going to be an emergency board meeting, and the board meeting would be 11:30 today. Well, my priority was that I'm going to be here on Tuesdays. And so I said, well, I know it's still going to be going on, so I'm going to pop off right after Dawn's show. Okay. That was in my agenda. I have the link. Everything was going. No problem. Okay. Then yesterday, there was, oh, the board meeting has been canceled, but we can still have you come in, and we're going to have a few members discussing it. Right. And so I said, okay, no problem. After the show, I will pop in 11:30. Boom, write that all down. And this morning, I get a message saying, ah, guess what? Okay. One of the members resigned. And immediately it's like, oh my goodness, right? This happens all the time. Okay. So the meeting is canceled, et cetera, et cetera. We're thrown. It doesn't matter whether it's a board meeting, whether it's a parent that has all of a sudden called if there's a crisis, or whether it's a client, or whatever it is, you really have to set your own personal priorities. And it does start with yourself. This is a must. Okay. Everything starts with you. And for me, every day, non negotiable, I meditate. Doesn't matter. You can get thrown during the day anyway. I do yoga. There is self care. Every day will be a shower. I will eat well, regardless of what's thrown at me. Okay. Or to the best of my ability. In other words, no junk food for me, no matter what. Okay. You have to set boundaries with yourself. It's not only for time, it's for what you need. Your priorities matter. And then you could do a better job for everybody else. So, how do I do it? The first thing is you have to be strong mentally and physically and emotionally. And then you can take care of just about everything. So, if you get anything out of this conversation today, your first priority, it's not your business. Okay. And it's not your children even. Okay. It's yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, how can you take care of those children? How can you keep running to the hospital if there's something that's going on? You will fall apart. And we'll talk about that later, but think of priorities as what's right for me. And then you branch out. And the branches will be, how do I do this? And how do I do that? And there may be a time where you say, oh my gosh, I need a break.
Mm.
And you have to reset. And you can give yourself, we have studies, we have research that if you do, and anyone that's in yoga practice would understand, if you just check out for 2 minutes, and I mean 2 minutes, lying on your back or whatever it is, and just breathe, you'll get clarity. And we have research studies that is so necessary in resetting our minds to put us in balance so that we can handle what's next. What we don't want to do is stop. When we're under pressure, all we want to do is continue and continue and continue. And we have tunnel vision. I have to finish it. I must get over this, go away. Okay. That's what you mustn't do. So that's a long, long dissertation. So my TED Talk is over, Dawn.
Well, I was following it word for word, enjoying every word of it and understanding and appreciating it and how important it is. And I'll switch it right over to Helena. But what I'd like to say is all you can focus on is what you can control. And that's you. And to your point, Beverly and Helena, things happen you don't plan for, you don't even look forward to, but they show up. And now you've got to make the accommodation. Life does get in the way sometimes. And some of it is how do you take care of yourself, whether it's yoga, whether it's nutrition, whether it's stress management, meditation, you name it. But that's what you can add reserve and value to yourself. So when you get hit with something out of the blue and it's challenging, you've already put yourself in a position. And, as you get older, you need to take better care of yourself because you're working against time and gravity all the time. So, I think that, and when you find a balance, the nice thing about getting older is 90% of things you're worried about before you don't have enough time to ever experience. So now it's what can you find joy in, and prioritizing time and activity is really prioritizing happiness and health. And that's the reason to have activity and interaction. So, Helena, what can you take us to another level with?
Well, first of all, I would absolutely echo what Beverly is saying about self care. And she brought these beautiful examples of what you can do, how you can do that. And there's a lot written and talked about self-care, especially the last couple of years. And it's like self-care is something on its own. It's not. I mean, you don't do self-care because you deserve it. You also do self-care because it is necessary in order to achieve your goals and to thrive and to be really present with whatever curveball life is throwing at you. And so it also keeps you focused on what is really, really important. Because when I'm talking about priority management, it also means that your priorities can change suddenly. We were talking about that just before we started our live session. 3 weeks ago, the dog of my partner died. He was devastated, absolutely devastated. So I canceled all my appointments for 3 days just to be there with him. And there were important appointments there. And I knew that it was going to be, in terms of scheduling and coordinations was going to be difficult. But at that time, that was the most important thing for me to do. That was what I absolutely also wanted to do. And so it's also a bit about the ability to decide and not to feel guilty or embarrassed or feel bad about, okay, this is what is happening now. Like you said, Don, life happens, things happen. And then what are we going to do about that? Are we going to be like trying to divide ourselves in two or three or four? Or are we going to say, okay, no, this is my priority now. It's changed. And to be very honest, the world kept turning and I could reschedule all these things without any problem. And of course, some deadlines are different from others, but some priorities can come, as a number one, like out of the blue. And it is also about being calm and present. And you can do that if you meditate regularly, if you do yoga regularly, if you take care of yourself and you know what your goals are at different levels or in different aspects of your life. It is about sometimes just reorganizing things and not feeling bad about them and knowing in your heart that you do the right thing, and also then dealing with people that might be disappointed, although everybody understands a situation like that. And so this is also priority management. It's life management, actually. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Well, I think what you're saying too is sometimes you got to choose the best of two evils, right? If something bad happens, sometimes nothing really good comes from it, but you
Mm,
can really focus on what you can do the best with. I think too, self care is so important. Maybe that should have been the word today. Is that you tend to take more time as you have more time and you need more time. Looking
mm,
back when I was younger, you could skip meals. You could stay up for 16 hours and you'd be 100% the next day. Now you start to feel it, and I think that's so important is go with your feelings, because the
mm.
key is to be here longer and to be here better when you're longer. So it's the quality of life. So Beverly, I know you're an expert on almost anything, so it makes it so easy.
Such compliments, Dawn. It's age. I have a lot of experience, right? Well, I'm going to piggyback exactly on that. Ideally, what we're talking about are ideals. Um, in the real world, it's not so easy. We're lucky if we can talk with the ideal of what we should be. But I mean, I speak to people that put in 100 hours a week. Okay, that is crazy. If you want to talk about time management and lifestyle management and priority management, whatever management there is, right? 100 hours a week, and I go back to why. Okay,
Mm,
and when they really start thinking their why, you get caught up in the cycle of the madness that the world has put them in. And I literally say the world has put them in because you don't realize when you're a high performer that you are going to keep on going and you are going to keep on growing and you're going to get bigger and bigger and there's going to be more demands, et cetera, et cetera. And right now, what is going on is people, and what I'm seeing is it's a lot in computer science where you get out of university and huge companies, some of them with that start with A, will hire you right away, or G, okay, and they'll hire you right away. And before you know, it's like, wow, I have such a great job. And then you're on that treadmill and you get paid big bucks. And it is an abusive environment. It really is because everybody is on that treadmill and you're encouraged to keep it up. And how does the body keep it up? Well, hey, take a vape. And before you know it, you get involved with vapes, you get involved with energy drinks. All you want to do is get the job done. This can kill you. And the smart people that talk to me, okay, and I'm saying that honestly, okay, they know that. And what they do is they say, I'm going to die if I keep on going like this. And this is men, these are women. And I'm thinking of one woman in particular who was on that treadmill and got burnout. And burnout, we talk about that so liberally. You know, you stop, you get a doctor's note, you have burnout, you stop, you go back, blah, blah. Um, Burnout is serious stuff. When you burn out, you do not care about anything, nothing. You don't care about your family, you don't care about anything. Okay, you definitely don't care about yourself, you don't care about the job, you just, yes, you have burned out. It can easily lead to depression and it can easily lead to suicide, and that's the truth. Okay, so the bottom line is burnout can kill. It really can. So you have to understand when to get off. You have to understand to say, how do I get help? Because in the world that you're living with 100 hours, nobody's going to say, I can't take this. This is too much. What is going to happen is they feel the strain and they're going to burn out. Often, what these people do pre burnout is they've amassed so much money that they start to say, well, maybe I could do more, or maybe they get a side hustle, etc. But you know what? When you're already doing 100 hours, you really do not have much time to fill it in anything else. So the priority has to be, which we're talking about, to yourself. What do I want? What is my why? Is my why to amass so much money that I'm going to die? Okay. Or that my children aren't going to know me, or I'm going to have a divorce. I'm going to have to give it to half of her to her anyway, and she'll go on with her happy life. And what am I doing? And I'm saying my wife, but I'm certainly talking about women here, believe me, because guess what? We are overachievers and we will surpass that. So we will be both wife and mother and partner and you name it. So talk about burnout. And so what Helena was saying when she was talking about guilt is, if you see to yourself that, no, I can't take it, don't feel guilty about that. And definitely get help to talk about all of this, because in the world that you're in, you're going to be encouraged to be that overachiever, because it's really hard to get off that hamster wheel. It's huge. And you know what? The hamster wheel is exciting and you thrive on that. But what is it really all about? And so it goes right back to that. So when you're thinking of prioritizing time and all this, these people don't, they do, believe me, highly scheduled individual, highly scheduled, and they handle it all. But what happens to them? So please think of your why. And it certainly doesn't have to be 100 hours, but maybe you're burning out at 50. Maybe you're burning out even at your regular job because there are people around you that are abusive, or you can't relate to what's going on and you're really stressed about it. Whatever it is, take a look at your world, because we can burn out anytime, and burnout is serious stuff. So this is where time management, priority management, the first priority is to ourselves. So yeah, it's not
Hel-
easy.
Helena, what's your thoughts? That was just great, Beverly. Appreciate it.
Well, I think that I recognize absolutely what you say, not only with people I work with or people I know, but I have been there myself. And like you say, Beverly, it is about finding your why and knowing your why. Why are you doing this? And if you really go deep into your why, then you will understand that there's no reason to do this, that we do this because the system has created this box that we live in. And it's like, we grow up, we study, we start working, we make this career, and we indeed start working 50, 60, 70, 100 hours a week. And then we retire. And during this working phase, we work Mondays till Fridays, hopefully. And then we have weekends to recover, hopefully. And then we have like a couple of weeks per year to take holidays, hopefully, because not everybody does, because we don't have time. And so this is the life that we live because everybody does that. It's a system. And it is about finding your why and also finding the courage and the
Courage.
strength to break that system. You don't have to work from your 25 until you're 65. You don't have to work 100 hours per week. You don't have to wait to recover for that one day in the week or maybe one weekend per month. If you can look to integrate that in your life, like you say also, Beverly, with like daily meditations or a daily walk during lunch break, just closing your computer at 5, at least 1 or 2 days per week, and say, okay, that's it. The world will keep turning. Nobody will die. I mean, this is something that we put on ourselves, but that basically other people put on ourselves, or bosses or the organizations. Change that. And I see the younger generations are not tolerating that anymore. There is a shift in terms of no. There are a lot of women that not, which is a pity, of course, in another context, that are not accepting promotions because they say no, we don't want to have meetings at 7:30 p.m. or at 6 in the morning. I'm exaggerating maybe, but just say no and see what happens. See what happens if you say no to all this pressure and define your own life. And yes, maybe it will be at a lesser salary, or you will have to do things in a different way, but just be aware of who you are and why you are here and what you really want to do, and see if there are ways. I mean, it's not like a simple thing to do, but you can take this gradually, and you can just take off all these kilos from your shoulders, or pounds, I guess, in the US,
Mhm.
one by one. Don't allow the system to make you say that. I mean, why wouldn't you be able to work and then take 2 years in order to do another study, to study something, and then work again, and then take 1 year in order to raise your child, or take a sabbatical it is possible. We feel like it's not. I know most of you that listen here will say, no, it's not possible. What are you saying? And I'm telling you, it is possible if you look at the right things, and if you just take away that fear of doing things that are not accepted, or that might take you out of your golden cage, or that might take away your safety net. Because get real, we don't have safety nets. We're just imagining all these things. So think of a life by design. Think of a life where you thrive, and take all the consequences, but don't be afraid that it will do you short, because it will not. Absolutely not. I mean, what you may be losing in dollars, you will gain in happiness, in joy, in de-stress, in decompress, and all the things that are good for you, for your body, for your heart, for your soul. Right? This is how I look at it, at
No,
least.
I think it's a beautiful way of seeing things. And what comes to mind from what you've said, Helena and Beverly, is people get caught up too much in things than in people. They get caught up in what people are going to see outside of their world, and sometimes that big house doesn't mean as much to them as they think it does to other people, or they've got certain requirements that if they don't meet them they feel unsatisfied or not very successful. But everybody puts their own restriction on themselves. Everybody decides when to quit, when to start, who to be with, who not. And I think the why is so important, because what's the purpose? You do all this work, and at the end of the day, you're worn out, you're tired, you don't have time for people that are important to you. Is that something that's of quality, something that's sustainable? And less is more in a lot of cases. Keeping it simple, minimalism is taking over. If you don't need a second car, if you don't need daycare, if you don't need this, now you have it all back. And some people would say, hey, I'll give up that to get this. Versus if I keep going, there's going to be out of balance, and all of a sudden relationships gets challenged.
Mhm.
People's interests get minimized. I want to paint, but I have no time. And you're the one who decided where the time's going, what you're doing with it, who you're spending the time with. And people sometimes who go through significant disappointment find it to be the best thing that ever happened to them. Some people get knocked off their horse because they shouldn't be on that horse anymore, but they're strong enough and confident that they're not going to be the ones to quit. And quitting isn't bad if it allows you to pivot to something of more value. So balance, prioritizing, and having people who trust you, love you, and care about you. And when you say, I can't do it anymore, they believe you and they want to support you. The people who say, keep going beyond your limit, keep working hard, they're not somebody you want to work with or work for, because you're, as soon as you burn out, someone else will take your place and then you're by yourself, and where is that? With that said, want to introduce Omar from Zoom Party. Omar was on the show last week. Thank you so much, Omar, for coming here and supporting the show. Christine has been with the show for, gosh, since it started a couple of years.
Yeah.
Christine's just a wonderful uh, individual who really practices what we're preaching today. She balances family with career, just got her MBA, and is always striving to do better. But there's no rush. Where's the fire? If you're reading a good book, you don't go to the last page just so you can say I finished it. You want to enjoy it. The journey is better than the destination, assuming the journey is better than destination. With that, uh, we got a question. How do
Yeah.
you, with burnout, guilt while working and raising a family, if it is advanced? I'll give that to Beverly.
I'd love to talk to that. Thanks, Christine. You have this, and you have the other question also, and we could add it too. You said recently I thought I was dying, but I found out that it was just a panic attack, and it never happened before. It's a wake up call. Yes, you can combine those two with the burnout and the panic attack together. Your body knows. We were talking about this. We cannot work those 100 hours, or even if you're working 50 hours or 40 hours, or even if it's a part-time job, whatever it is, when you're under this kind of pressure, your mind is going to start taking over and your body's going to also feel it. So you have to go back to the why. Okay, why am I doing this now? Is it for the money, or is it for the ego? There's an awful lot of that. Or is it should? Is it I was brought up that I should be doing this, that, and the other? And I'm going to go back also to what Helena said, because we're talking so much in this session and there's so much good stuff, that you have to find what's right for you. And it's really hard to find what's right for you when your world gives you so much pressure. As a woman, I have to be a good mother, and then I'm supposed to be a career woman, and then I'm supposed to be so many other things, that if we're not those things, you could start feeling I am not good enough and I don't rate. And you start looking, particularly on social media, at everyone else who is doing it all. And that's not so. Nobody can do it all. But social media has a lot to say about Miss Perfect and what we should look like and how we should act and, who we are supposed to be. Only you know who you are supposed to be. And that's where you have to check out and say, this is not for me. And I've seen lawyers, attorneys who have gotten right from college and said, no, I'm not going to go on that fast track. I'm going to go to a small boutique office. Or you have to know yourself. And if you're going on this treadmill, you still have to be able to say, hey, I'm getting a panic attack. There's something wrong here. What is going on? And unfortunately, society is going to tell you it's you. You're not strong enough. There's something wrong with you, right? Take some medication, take some anti-anxiety medication. No, what you have to do is say, this is too much for me. My body is telling me. Go with what you need. Go with your body, go with your mind, and start allowing yourself not to have the guilt. You can't do so much. And that's as a mother, as a parent, as a worker. as a business owner, whatever you do, you have to be the one that knows what's right for you. You have to be able to close the screen, as Helena said, and said, this is enough. And the world will continue tomorrow. And if I don't get my sleep, I'm not going to handle the world tomorrow. And I'm going to also say that sleep is imperative. And if we can't shut down our minds, you're not going to get to sleep. And when you say to yourself, it's enough, world, I'm shutting down, it's over, lights out, your mind has to close down too, and know all your problems, everything else will be there tomorrow. But you can't fix it during the night. So let it go, shut it down, and be confident enough that you will handle it the next day. That's kind of a mindset thing. But you can't do it all. There is no guilt. Not everyone is perfect. And you have to constantly talk to yourself like that. Tell yourself, as if you're a really good friend, it's okay. You can handle it. It's not the end of the world. If you make that call tomorrow instead of finishing it at 8:30, 9 o'clock tonight. Okay? So allow your life to be your life. Don't let other people rule it.
Excellent points, Beverly. Helena, your thoughts?
Absolutely. And hi, Harvey. Nice to meet you too. I see Harvey is
Yeah.
coming in late. So nice to meet you too. Beverly, you are so right. And what I would like to add there is that for some people listening in, maybe they think like, yeah, that's easier said than done. And that is true. And you don't have to do this alone. It's also important to surround yourself with people who support you with this, and be careful about who you surround yourself with and who you're talking about these things with, because not everybody is sharing, is taking your best interest into account. And if that doesn't work, find a coach, find a mentor, find a therapist that supports you, because you don't have to do this alone. If you surround yourself with like-minded people that are in the same situation, and that where you can support and sponsor each other, and go this step by step and be like accountability buddies in that, or find a coach, because it is not simple, because like we already said, there's so many voices and there's so many things yelling at us. You have to do this, you should do that, you forgot this, and then we have this guilt and this. So, and especially if you are feeling that you have like panic attacks, or that you become depressed, you have troubles getting out of bed in the morning, you feel that you might have a burnout, please seek help, because these are medical conditions and you need support with that. You don't have to do that on your own. I mean, there's a lot of nice things that we like to share with everybody, but these are also things that we can share with trusted people that will help us. Build
Yeah,
your community support.
yeah, that's excellent advice. And why go it alone? It's lonely, and you may be your worst enemy instead of your best friend. I believe what we're really stressing here is permission. Give yourself permission to know when to leave, to know when enough is enough. How many times you sit through something that you just want to be polite or courteous, and if you left a little early, you'd feel, what are people going to think? Well, you got to be true to yourself first before you can be true to anybody else. And the nice thing about today's world in the virtual land is that you're not as committed to time and space as you used to. If you had to go to an office every day at 8 o'clock, you have to get up at a certain time. You got to get on the road. You got to be ready. And you just spend an hour and a half maybe doing something has nothing to do with work, but everything to do with taking you away from home. And the other aspect is where's the rush? So many people are rushing to get somewhere. As soon as they get somewhere, they can't wait to rush to the next place. Why not just go to the second place first? I mean, if you're not going to enjoy your wins, if you're not going to celebrate your successes, if you're not going to stay where you're at when you're so happy, you're defeating your own purposes. And everybody has the ability to change. To what extent, to what speed or efficiency is, that's questionable. But, the world, like Helena said, is going to keep spinning with or without you. You don't have that much control out of outside factors, but you can balance your day to say, I can't wait for my walk. I can't wait for my 3 o'clock nap today if I choose to have one. And you got to give yourself license. And a lot of people say, oh, you're not working that hard or you're lazy. Well, maybe so, but I'm happy. And it's what I want to be now. And maybe next week I'll change again and I'll find something else that's interesting, but at least you have the option. And I think the key is get away from competition into complementation. Add to what you have. Don't fight yourself. Don't fight somebody else. Too many people got their eyes on everybody else's stuff, and everybody's got their own situation that you'll never know about. So whether it's a bigger house, a bigger car, a nicer this, it's transitory. Clean out a house when you finally want to minimize and see how much stuff you had. And most of the stuff I didn't even know was there. Some stuff was packed in boxes for 20, 30 years. If it disappeared tomorrow, I couldn't tell you what was in it. So, what's the purpose? To get to Harvey, want to always recognize Harvey.
Yeah.
Harvey's got his show that follows this, the franchise show. Harvey's been a colleague, a really great friend to all of us. He's in our cohort group with Beverley and Dave and Kelly and on and on and on. And I recommend you get to know Harvey. Take this opportunity to get to know Christine. Everybody who's here is here with you at the same time, probably for some same reason. Why not get with people who already align with you? And I think that's really matching up. Is this somebody I really relate to? And that whole factor of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Who are they? Where are they going? How are they getting there? Is this something you want to do, or do you want to take a transfer somewhere else? Folks, thank you, Harvey. Check out his show after this if you have time.
Yeah.
It's a great show. He also started a second show on Thursdays, The Brand Stories. And Harvey was on this show for 6 months, every other Friday. So I got to know Harvey well. And, that's another thing. Time will either promote you or expose you, you know? And, I think it's always nice to be on the right track, see the trend, see things improving because it gives you hope, and hope gives you confidence, and confidence projects, right? Is if you're secure, you don't mind saying, hey, I'm having a hard time today, I have to leave early, versus, well, how are they going to feel about it? Well, better find out now than always start to ask yourself that question. With that, Christine says, I agree with you, Beverly. I wasn't going to share about the panic attack, but my body's sending a message to slow down.
Can I add to that, please, Don?
Okay.
Because thank you, Christine. Thank you for mentioning that. A panic attack really feels like you are dying. It feels like you're going to have a heart attack. It's really bad. And once your body knows this, you can easily get that again. It's just a brain thing. Okay. So, Christine, I want to thank you because a lot of people don't even want to share that. And many people do get these panic attacks. And I've worked with many people, usually really high achievers, that don't even know what's going on. And they're taking all kinds of medication. And it's really not necessary for that. And to also know that nobody has ever died of a panic attack because it's not your heart. Okay. So there are ways of handling it. And if anybody has, it's a very quick tweak. If anyone has and is listening to this, please contact me, reinventimpossible.com. And to anybody else, it's a message that you have to slow down, that things are bothering you, that this is too much. And you may say, well, it's nothing. I only work part-time. It's not about what you're doing, it's what you're thinking. So understand that your brain is going 24/7, and body, mind works together. So I want to thank you, Christine, because many people have that panic attack. We're rushing here, rushing there, rushing online to the computer. I'm going to challenge you, Dawn. No, the world is going faster with our virtual world, not slower. We wake up, we check our phones, and it starts there. And so you have to set boundaries with yourself. It cannot be on this 24/7 loop, because machines can work 24/7. We cannot. So I just had to share that.
No, I
Thanks.
think that's very valuable. And the other thing is there's so much information out there that there shouldn't be any mystery. You can go to YouTube and you can go to Google, and within a few minutes go to Mayo Clinic or WebMD, right? And pretty soon you get a context, because people tend to jump to conclusions. And if you are anxious and you're on edge, your mind is thinking in that regard also. So everything that you look through that filter will give you a reinforcement to it. And you can get carried away, and pretty soon you find yourself in a whole different situation. And it's really being in the now, being present with who you're with and what you're doing. Too many people are still catching up from where they left, getting ready for where they're going to go, and they lose everything in the middle, and they feel they're being stretched. And why stretch? Because what's another minute or two? You know, how many people are like, hurry up, let's go going, we got to get going. And you say, well, where are we going after we go where we're going? Nowhere, right? So if we got to be there in 20 minutes, like shopping, well, if we're there in 30 minutes, what are we missing? But people just got, the need, they get carried along. It's like being in the river. Everything is pushing, everything is forcing. They're trying to catch up. Why not give yourself some extra room? If you're going to the airport, get a half hour early so you're not sitting there in traffic, squeezing and hoping and praying that something doesn't happen. Christina says, Christine, thank you. I need to drop, but I appreciate the advice. And that's the other thing is everything in time. You pick up a little tip today from us, you take that and carry that forward to something on your own. And also I think the key to prioritizing your activities is taking inventory. Some things you're still doing that don't make any sense anymore. You picked it up at a certain point and you forgot to drop it off. And you'll, like Helena said, we only have so much time. What are you going to do with it? I used to ask people, would you like to do? Oh, I don't have any time. I said, how much time don't you have? Right? It's what you're doing with it and what's serving you. And you can exchange this for that and make for a better day. And isn't it wonderful when you wake up and you have 4 or 5 things to look forward to that you're excited by, that you created, whether it's meetings with people, going to lunch, having a phone call. And then what are you doing in the time when you're not doing anything with your time? Sitting there worrying when you could call somebody you haven't talked to in a while. You could go out and get a nice walk for 10 minutes and still the world will be there waiting for you. Helena, what's your new thoughts?
Well, I was thinking, because I also read a comment here from Carrie about the karting, and I was thinking, like, for some people listening in, it might feel a little bit like simple, yeah, easier said than done, because we work so hard and we have a second and a third job because we just need to pay the bills. It's also a money thing, the financial stress that we have, and that is absolutely true. And I absolutely do not want to be like neglecting that or pushing that away like something not relevant. The thing is that we do work very hard and we do take a lot of things on our shoulders because of this money thing. And it also comes from stress. And when we feel that we will not be able to pay the bills, like the example that Carrie gives, like you go to the garage for one thing and then the guy says there's another thing coming, and you start stressing, you start worrying. The thing is, when we start worrying and when we start stressing, and that is why all this meditation and sleep and things are so important, we get into our reptilian brain. we get into our stress mode, we get into our fight or flight or paralyzed modes. Yeah. And that means that we cut ourselves from our creativity and our resourcefulness. And so, again, easier said than done. And I just invite you to try. If things like that happen, you can say, okay, this is happening. Okay. We will not resist because it is there. I mean, if I resist, it will not change anything. But let's see how we can solve this. Instead of starting panicking and going into that reptilian brain, ask like simple how questions. Who can help me? What can I do next? What can I trade off? Is there something that I can stop doing in order to be able to do this? Is there somebody else who can help me with these brake things in the car? Do I have to go to the garage? Maybe I know somebody who, I mean, there are people who start watching YouTube movies and say, we're going to try to do it ourselves. I'm just,
Mhm.
depending on how technical you are. But I mean, we cut ourselves off from our resourcefulness by being in panic or in stress mode. And so we keep adding all these things and adding all this stress, and nothing comes to us. No ideas, no, ways of looking at it in a different way. And so this is an invitation also to be aware, of course, about financial situations and financial commitments and things like that, but also to trust that there are solutions for everything, and that we can only find these solutions if we are present, if we stay close to ourselves, and if we do that from a calm place. And that's why also this meditation and sleep and yoga and nature walks are so important. Even if you feel like, no, I don't want to do that now, just get over that and do it anyway. And look what happens. It will not happen like after 1 or 2 days, but learn to access your resourcefulness and your creativity and your options and possibilities. And you have no access to that from a place of stress. That's a very important thing also to add.
Absolutely. And, I think the other thing is one has to put their pride and their ego behind them sometimes. And if you sincerely are in need of help, try to ask somebody who can help you in some way. It might just be encouragement, it might be just good advice, it might be a referral, and it might be exactly what you're looking for. Because how many people in life have an opportunity to help somebody in a very difficult situation who you care a lot about? And usually it's not big money. Usually it's not a big inconvenience, especially if you have it and you have room for it. But it's knowing just that there's someone I know, if worse comes to worse, I can call up, I could go see. Whatever they do for me, they'll have the best intentions for me. And if I don't ask, I'll never know. But look at how many people, when people do dramatic things, always have that question, why didn't they call me? If they only needed $500 for their medicine, or they only needed this, and because of that, they then ended up doing something impulsive or really dangerous. I wish I would have known. So you're actually depriving somebody of an opportunity to help you. And, that's up to you. No one can open the door and walk through it for you. So I think and you can approach it in a way that isn't too imposing. Usually talking about something will invite somebody into it. I'm having a hard time getting my brakes fixed this week, and I really don't feel comfortable driving without it. Well, there's a saying, if you want money, ask for advice. If you want advice, ask for money. And it's typically true. But if you let someone in, I just want to share what I'm going through. People know, and they're pretty smart, and they can say, oh, well, you need brakes. Okay. If that's all they say, you're probably not going to get any further. But if someone says, well, how much are brakes, and how much are you short, and blah, 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 why not? It gives you practice. I know when I got my first bank loan for my first business, I had to go through 5 banks who turned me down. But every time I got turned down, I asked why. And every time I found out why, I changed my presentation to the next person till I covered it all. So, you don't get into trouble overnight. You don't anticipate to get out of trouble overnight. But it's a process. But you do feel pride when you work through it. You're always feeling better after you've addressed adversity, after going through it. When you're first approaching it, it's like the last thing you ever want to deal with, and it looks so formidable. So, with that said, Beverly.
Well, okay. Where am I going with this? Yeah, you say so much, and I get caught up in the conversation. Where what I'm saying, Don, is priorities, and we're going right back to that. Where are our priorities, and what are our priorities? And there are consequences all the time when we make these priorities. And I'm thinking, as you were talking about, slowing down, maybe the job is too hard right now, or I want to take care of my kids, so I'm going to put less time here and more time here, and those are my priorities. And I'm thinking of a podcast that I did in an interview, and here was a woman who, over 50, in her 60s, she had a wonderful job, a terrific career, and sure enough, saying, I am getting off the rat race. I'm going out of corporate. I'm going to take care of my kids. She did, and decided to become a consultant. And as a consultant, she figured, okay, I can always step now back into corporate. And guess what? No. And that's when ageism comes in. So you have to remember, when we are going to change our jobs, our careers, our lives, there will be consequences. We can't just jump right back and think that we were so good back in the day that people will want us when we're ready to come back, right? Because life changes. And you have to change, and you have to be adaptable. And like you said, Dawn, and this is what I was thinking of, going to 6 banks until you got your loan. That was your priority. And for her, she had to get back into the job market because she was getting a divorce, and it was really a serious struggle. And now her kids no longer needed her. She was older, and she said, okay, I have to do this. And it was no and no and no. And she was selling, all her services and everything that she did. And this is what we do when we go to sell ourselves for what we can do for the company. And that was totally wrong as an older woman. And I'm going to encourage you to listen to the podcast, Aging with Purpose and Passion, because she gives out the tips. But what she also had found, once she started listening to what was really necessary and stopped trying so hard to get into that job. And I'm talking to you, Carrie, and I was listening to Helena. You start opening your mind to what else you can do and who else you can do things with and who you can partner with, rather than just going on one track, banging at that one door, expecting it to open. Today she's an author. Today she got a wonderful job. But the bottom line really is she had to change and learn. And we all have to change that. If we slow down for one reason or another, we can't step right back in. Life goes on. And it's the same thing. The world is changing. We have to stay relevant, but we also have to listen to what other people need and want. It's a two-way street. So that's what I was hearing to what you were saying, Dawn. And I thank you for that. We need persistence, and we need to stay with our why. Why do we want it? And how do I get it? And how do I strategize so that I can fill the need for someone else? It's about someone else, not about you, in everything.
Yeah, that's gorgeous how you put that together, because it's so easy to appreciate when you hear it in that way. And too many people hear it in different ways or don't hear it in the proper way. Too many people want to hold on to something that's no longer there. But because they're so used to it, it's the habit. Harvey makes a great point, and it's surprising it's only been a year. But what Harvey says, I'm really enjoying listening to the show today, reminds me of over a year ago when I first heard the show. One connection can change your life. I've retold the story of meeting Don on many occasions, a kind hearted, generous person, someone I can count on. And as a friend, I have to go for my show now, but thank you to you all. And you know what Harvey proves and Beverly all the time prove? There's so many good people you've yet to meet. You don't have to settle for the old and the ones that have already run their course. Why not start fresh with people who are where you are or where you want to go? There's a billion people on LinkedIn alone. Why settle? And you don't have to give to get. You can still keep what you have, but change, add to it, maybe slow things down, speed things up. There, you have control. The only time you're in trouble is when you think you have no control, when things are beyond your control. And then you feel victimized or minimized or whatever mised you want to add to it. And there's hope, there's belief. How many times you've been at the lowest point and found out you can rise above that, you know? And without bottoms, you can't appreciate tops, you know? And I think that's the key. And be find ways to get happy sooner with less work. You know, too many people wait till the end of the day and say, "Oh, I'm finally satisfied." Well, that took you a long time. What happened if you didn't get there? You wake up tomorrow unsatisfied from the day before, taking that in. Not the way to go. With that said, Helena, love to hear your thoughts on another wonderful program with you in it, and love to hear what you have to say.
Well, I would like to add that this is like it's a mindset and it's a lifestyle. And for me, what shifted for me and what I see is shifting things also for people I work with is being able to adopt a mindset of abundance, gratitude, and generosity. It is about believing that the world and the universe is organizing itself around what you want and need to become, what you have in you. It is about trusting your gifts and your talents. And it is about really believing in yourself and having the conversation with yourself that matters and not listen to all the noise around you. I mean, the system is the system, and we all see what the system does on a mondial scale on to what it does to humanity. And you can step by step you can just undo yourself of that if you also turn inside and look who you are and who you want to become. And if you are aware that the world is abundance, the universe is abundance. And I know it's sometimes very difficult to see that, especially since a lot of us are also in this financial scarcity. And yet there is enough for everybody. And if you can live through that, and based on that also live from gratitude instead of resentment or anger or feeling mistreated. But if you can live from gratitude, so you look at what you do have and you look at what you did achieve and you look at what is around for you and how you can then generosity bring that to other people. This is basically for me, this is like the three most important things in life. And if you can, and I know tomorrow might be a little bit different, and then there's the next day to start over again. But if you can live on these three principles, you will see that the world will change, because the world that you see is the world that you basically create with your mind and your heart and your soul. And if you look at it in a different way, because you look at yourself in a different way and your relationship with the world, you will change the world. You will at least change your world. And with a bit of luck, you will change the world and you will impact so many people. And that's a beautiful thing to do and to live for.
That is a beautiful thing, and it is so empowering for those who want to take the time to listen and appreciate. Gratitude is so very important. It gives you perspective, and givers get, you know, and just being a giver and being part of something bigger than yourself takes you out of yourself. And sometimes you need that. Beverly, final thoughts. It's been a wonderful show. It always is with you.
It has been a wonderful show and it was great. Lena, I really enjoyed it. I'm going to go back to our topic, which really is time management and priority management. Set your priorities. And what we were talking throughout this entire show is it's really all about you. Find your why. There will be consequences for what your why is, because the world does not run in your head. You're the one that has to run your world. And put things on a schedule so that you don't get overwhelmed. But just remember that that schedule has to be flexible and you have to be resilient. And I have a Facebook group. It's Women Over 50 Rock, if anybody's on Facebook. But one of the posts that were put on, and I said, great, I'm going to write it down and so I could read it. It said, some of the best things that will happen in your life will not be on the schedule. And I just said, this is so perfect, because that's the good stuff. The stuff that we jump into, the stuff that we can immediately do spontaneously, and the stuff that comes from your heart. So think about yourself. Number one, take care of yourself, prioritize you, and then prioritize everything else that's important to you in your day. And you can reach me on reinventimpossible.com, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Right, Dawn? We'll be together.
You
And
bet.
yes, this
Well,
is so much fun.
well, Tuesdays are so wonderful and valuable because I look forward to these, and I look forward to what I've yet to learn. What am I going to say based on what someone motivated me to say that I wouldn't have said without their support? And there's beauty everywhere, and variety is the spice of life, right? It could be just changing your menu for what you're going to eat a little bit here and there, because it's really great if you can be older and find a way to return to innocence,
Mhm.
where you can have the best of both worlds and you can live vicariously through others, where someone else's joy and success means as much in some ways as yours because you've had a lot of that and that's their first go around. So I think we're all in this together. Helping each other only helps ourselves and builds that support network that everybody feels like I can lean into it if I need to. And just knowing that may allow you not to have to depend on anything, just know that it's there. So, with that, a little bit over, but worth every minute of it. Want to thank everybody. Go out and have a beautiful day. Check out Harvey's show right after if you want to. And tomorrow we'll come back with tomorrow is Jason Gerardo, and we've
He's
got
great.
Carl Dakin and myself. And Thursday we've got Kelly Stanecki, and we've got Dave Snell and myself. So go out and make yourself everything you're capable and worthy of being today. And you've got our advice and